Hi again students, and welcome again to iTTV. And my name is Mr. Joel, your tutor for Mathematics Form 4. Alright guys, today we have arrived at lesson 8 of chapter 2 and quadratic expressions and equations. And today the title of our lesson is the roots of a quadratic equation. Alright, what is a root? Let's look at the definition. A root of a quadratic equation is the specific value of the unknown which satisfies the equation. It is also known as the solution of a quadratic equation. Alright, what does it mean? Before this, the unknown is represented by x. Now, when the unknown's value has been identified, that particular value is called the root of the quadratic equation. And the root of the quadratic equation must satisfy the equation. Let's look at an example. X equals to minus 2 is one of the roots of x squared plus 3x equals to minus 2 because for this particular quadratic equation, the left-hand side of the equation, which is x squared plus 3x, if the value of negative 2 is substituted as the value of x, you will get 4 minus 6, which is negative 2. And since the value of the left-hand side and the right-hand side is equal, which is negative 2, therefore x equals to negative 2 is a root of the quadratic equation. How do we determine whether a given value is a root of a quadratic equation? In step 1, substitute the given value of the unknown in the quadratic equation. In step 2, to determine whether is a root, if the values of the left hand side or LHS equals to the right hand side or RHS, then the given value of the unknown is a root of the quadratic equation. If the left hand side is not equals to the right hand side, then the given value of the unknown is not a root of the quadratic equation. Alright, so now, how do we determine whether a given value, any number, will be the solution or not for the quadratic equation? Here are the steps. Substitute the value into the left and the right hand side. So if they are the same, then that value is the root. If it is not, that value is not the root or solution for that particular equation. Let's look at this example. Determine if x equals to 5 is a root for which of the following quadratic equations. In A, x squared plus 6x equals to 2. Alright, now we're going to check whether x equals to 5 is a solution for this particular equation. So remember the steps. When x equals to 5, in the left hand side, substitute 5 as x into the left hand side. So x squared plus 6x, when x is 5, it becomes 5 squared plus 6 multiplied by 5, which is 25 plus 30, the value is 55. And one, look, it is not equal to the right hand side because the right hand side's value is 2. And because the left hand side's value is not equals to the right hand side's value, x equals to 5 is not a root of x squared plus 6x equals to 2. So any number can be tested whether it is a root of the quadratic equation or not by simply substituting that value into the left and into the right hand side of the equation and comparing. Remember, a root is the value of the unknown, okay, that has been identified. Alright, now let's look at another equation. Determine if x equals to 5 is a root for this equation. In B, x squared minus 5x equals to 0. So now we have another equation, and we're going to test whether the value of 5 is the root or not. So when x equals to 5, on the left hand side, x squared minus 5x. Substitute the value of 5 into x, which is 5 squared minus 5 multiplied by 5. 25 minus 25 equals to 0. And if you notice carefully, the right hand side of the equation displayed earlier is also 0. So now, since left hand side and right hand side is equal, therefore x equals to 5 is a root of x squared minus 5x equals to 0. So this is how you test whether a given value is the root. Remember, the meaning of root is not a tree root, yeah? It is the root, means the unknown's solution, the value of x that satisfies the quadratic equation. Alright, now we have seen given any value and we tested the value. Now we are going to determine the roots of a quadratic equation by the trial and error method. What is the trial and error method? The trial and error method is used to determine the solution or root of a quadratic equation when no value of the unknown is given. In the first step, guess a value for the unknown. In step 2, substitute the given value of the unknown in the quadratic equation. In step 3, to determine whether it's a root, if the values of the left hand side equals to the right hand side, then the given value of the unknown is a root of the quadratic equation. On the opposite hand, if the left hand side is not equal to the right hand side, then the given value of the unknown is not a root of the quadratic equation. Alright, let's take a look at this example. Find the solution of 2x squared minus x minus 6 equals to 0 by the trial and error method. So given here is a full quadratic equation, and now we are trying to identify the root or the solution or the value of x which will satisfy the equation. And once it comes to your mind, satisfy, it means that the left and the right hand side should be equal once the value of x is substituted. But now there is no value that is given to us, so we must use the trial and error method. And the trial and error method simply means if you don't get the first one right and you make a mistake, go and try a second time. So you must just guess any value of x to substitute inside the equation. Alright, now let us say that x equals to 1. Any random value. We pick x as 1. The left hand side will give us 2, and we substitute 1 as the value of x inside. Minus 1 minus 6. And we will get the value 2 minus 1 minus 6, which is minus 5. Alright, and what is the right hand side? The equation displayed earlier is 0, and negative 5 is not 0. This means that 1 does not satisfy the equation, therefore 1 is not a root. Alright, now if you don't get, try another value. Let's take x as minus 1 now, and let's hope it is the right one, okay? Alright, so on the left hand side, substitute x equals to minus 1 inside the whole equation. 2x squared minus x minus 6. Alright, and you should get, replace minus 1 as x. So it's 2 minus 1 squared minus negative 1 minus 6. And 2 plus 1 minus 6, negative 3, also not equals to 0, not equals to right hand side, therefore minus 1 is not a root also. Let's go on to another value, x equals to 2, substitute it inside the left hand side, alright, and you can use your calculator to determine the value. So substitute all x as 2, and what value will you get? So substitute 2 inside, and you should get 8 minus 2 minus 6 after replacing 2 as x. The value is 0. So since the right hand side is also 0, it means that the left hand side and the right hand side is equal. When a certain value that has been substituted gives you both sides equal value, you can be sure that that value is the root or the solution of that particular equation. So that particular value just now is the root of that equation. Now, let us try other values to determine if there are other solutions for that equation. Alright, take a look at x equals to negative 3 over 2. Remember guys, the trial and error method involves you picking any random value and testing it by trial and error. So if we try x as minus 3 over 2, substitute x equals to minus 3 over 2 inside the whole left hand side. So you should get 2. So all the x is replaced with negative 3 over 2 square minus bracket negative 3 over 2 minus 6. You will get 9 over 2 plus 3 over 2 minus 6, and the value using your calculator, 0. So the right hand side of the equation just now is 0, and when we substitute equals to 0, both sides are the same. The left hand side equals to right hand side, therefore x equals to minus 3 over 2 is a root of this quadratic equation. Alright, so that is how you determine the roots of a quadratic equation by trial and error. Alright, now let us do some exercises together. Let's read. Determine whether each of the following values of the unknown is a root of the given quadratic equation. Alright, this is what we learned earlier. Let's look at a few equations. A, B, C and D. We'll do this on the board together, yeah? Alright, let's look at equation A. Let's determine whether for this quadratic equation, is x equals to 3 a solution or not? Alright, so when we substitute, okay, this is a quadratic equation, x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals to 0. Now, remember what is the step? Substitute the value of the given x inside the left hand side. Alright, so this is the left hand side, this is the right hand side. So when I put x equals to 3 inside the left hand side, all x must be replaced with 3. Okay, so substitute x as 3 and evaluate it. Alright, either by this or by using the calculator. So simple calculations, 9 plus 6, 15 minus 3, 12. Alright, is 12 equals to 0? Definitely not. So we must just put 12 is not equals to 0. Therefore, it is not equal to the right hand side. Alright, so x equals to 3 is not a root because it doesn't satisfy the equation. So we just have to put no. X equals to 3 is not a root. Alright, let's look at our second equation over here. Alright, in the equation 4x squared minus x plus 1 equals to 0. This is a quadratic equation, and now we are trying to identify and to determine whether x equals to minus 1. Alright, here's a given value of x. Is it a solution for this equation? It only will be a solution if it satisfies the equation. So compare, substitute inside the left hand side. Right, so when x takes minus 1, okay, step by step, rewrite everything inside the equation and substitute. Alright, so you will get an expand. So 4 plus 1 plus 1, 6. And it is not a solution. Why? Because this is the value of the left hand side, which is 6. The value of the right hand side of the equation is 0. 6 doesn't equal to 0. So it is not equals to the right hand side. So this value is not the value that we are looking for. Not the root. All you have to do is reject that value. Say it is not an equation. Alright, let's look at C. Alright, we haven't come across a value given that will be a root. Now let's look at C. So now in the equation 2x squared minus x minus 1 equals to 0. The given value of x is here. Is x equals to negative half a root for this equation? You must substitute and test it out according to the 4-step method we have discussed earlier, and you must just substitute the value. Does it or does it not satisfy the equation? So this is the left hand side and the right hand side is 0. This has been made easy because this quadratic equation is already in the general form. So just denote left hand side as LHS and substitute the value of negative half for every x. And use your calculator, or you can just calculate it like that. So negative half squared will be a quarter, alright, plus a half minus 1. Alright, so you will get half plus half minus 1, which is 1 minus 1 equals to 0. Yes! Look at the left hand side, 0. Look at the right hand side, also 0. So now we can be sure that one of the roots of this quadratic equation is negative half. So the question asks us whether the given value is a root or not. Yes or no? Yes, for this example. Alright, and one more to discuss together. Alright, we have another equation here, 6x squared plus 7x plus 12. You have to check whether negative half is a root or not for this quadratic equation, and the same step applies. Alright, already in general form, left hand side, right hand side. Substitute x minus half wherever there is x. Okay, and x only occurs on the left hand side, so you have to replace all the x with minus half, alright, to substitute and to check the value. Okay, so replace it and check whether it is, the value will give you a value identical to the right hand side. So expand. Okay, and get it to the simplest form. You will get a value. Okay, so 3 over 2 minus 7 over 2 plus 12. Alright, what is the value? Minus 2 plus 12, which is 10. Not the same as the right hand side. Therefore, we just conclude that it is not a quadratic solution for this particular quadratic equation. Alright, now next exercise. By using the trial and error method, find the roots of each of the following quadratic equations. So just now, specific values of x are given to you. You have to just substitute it and verify. Now, if there are no values of x to be given to you, how are you going to determine the roots? Well, we have learned one method, which is called the trial and the error method. Alright, let's look at this. A, for the quadratic equation x squared plus x minus 12 equals to 0. Alright, now, what are the values that will satisfy this equation? Alright, since the trial and error method sometimes can take some long time, alright, so you must always check whether alright, and try out different values of x. Alright, but don't go to very big values, alright? Take the values that are small and common. 1, -1, 2, -2. So the answer for A, if you were to try, you can test it out. The roots are 3 and -4. Alright, for B, for the equation 2x squared minus x minus 3 equals to 0, when you trial and error method, you should get the roots -1 and 3/2. Alright, for C, 4x squared plus 8x plus 3 equals to 0. Alright, keep on trying. Try any value that you want. I'll give you the answer. Alright, you should get -3/2 and -1/2. Alright, and for D, 5x squared minus 17x plus 6 equals to 0. So trial and error, get a few random values of x and substitute it inside the left and right hand side till you can equate them. Alright, and the roots for this equation are 3 and 2/5. Alright, now it's time for you to do a quick test. Alright, I'll give you some time to do the following exercises. Alright, in number 1, determine whether the given values of the unknown is a root of the given equation. In A, x squared equals to 3x minus 6. Is minus 6 a root? In B, 3x squared plus 4x minus 4 equals to 0. Is 2/3 a root? Alright, for A, when x is minus 2, the left hand side will give you a value of 4. And the right hand side will give you a value of -9 after substitution. Since the left hand side does not equal to the right hand side, therefore x equals to 5 is not a root of x squared equals to 3x minus 6. Alright, I'm sure you've done the second one also. When x equals to 2/3, the left hand side, substitute x as 2/3. So 3 bracket 2/3 squared plus 4 bracket 2/3 minus 4. 4/3 plus 8/3 minus 4, and you should get 0. And because it equals to the right hand side, therefore x equals to 5 is a root of 3x squared plus 4x minus 4 equals to 0. I hope you got it right. Alright, in the second question, find the solutions of 6x squared plus x minus 1 equals to 0 by trial and error method. Alright, I'll give you some time to do this. Alright guys, I'm sure you have your solution. Remember, trial and error is trying to obtain by randomly guessing a few common numbers. Alright, if you take the factors of -1, which are 1 and -1, try x minus 1 and substitute it inside the left hand side. Alright, as you proceed, you will get 4. So it doesn't equal the right hand side, not the value that you want. Alright, now test another one. X equals to 1 and repeat the same step. Substitute 1 inside every x. Okay, so 6 plus 1 minus 1, 6 doesn't equal to the right hand side, not a root of the equation. Right? Don't give up. Try on of other values. Why don't you take the factors of 6, which are 1, 2, 3 and 6, and guess the fraction with the denominator as the fraction of 6. Okay, factors of 6. So take x as 1/3 and substitute inside the left hand side. So it becomes 6 bracket 1/3 square plus 1/3 minus 1. So 2/3 plus 1/3 minus 1 equals to 0. Equals to the right hand side, and good, you have managed to identify one root. Alright, but a quadratic equation most times has 2 roots, means there is another root that's missing somewhere. So continue to try to find the second one. Alright, and I'm sure you have guessed. Alright, if you take x equals to -1/2 and you substitute it inside the left hand side, you should get 0. Alright, so because it's equals to 0, left hand side equals to right hand side, equal value, therefore x equals to minus half is a root of the equation. Once you have managed to identify all the roots of the equation, write them down in a simple conclusion, right? So therefore, the solutions of the quadratic equation 6x squared plus x minus 1 equals to 0 are x equals to negative half and x equals to 1/3. Alright guys, we have learned quite a lot today, alright? And we have almost come now to our end of lesson 8. Alright, let's quickly recap what we have learned. Alright, we have learned the roots of a quadratic equation. Roots simply mean solutions, values of x that will satisfy the equation. Alright, so given any value, you should know how to test, verify and to determine whether that value is a root or not. And how do we determine the root if no value is given to you? Well, we have learned one method today, which is called the trial and error method, which involves you simply picking any values of x and substituting it and to check whether the left hand side equals to the right hand side. Alright, in our next lesson, we will learn another method that is more effective. Alright guys, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Alright, remember guys, practice, do your work, and I'm sure you'll improve day by day. Alright, I'll see you again in the next lesson. Goodbye for now.